Hi, I'm John Nerrell, and welcome to the Mid-Career GPS podcast. If you're feeling stuck in your career and overwhelmed by what steps to take, I can help you. As an executive and career transition coach, I help my clients prepare, position, and promote who they are and what they do to show up and find a job they love or love the job they have. It's time to start building your mid-career GPS. So let's get started. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. Before we get started today, I just want to pause for a moment. Is oftentimes when you're launching a new podcast that episodes drop pretty close to when you record them. I'm actually recording this the Friday before this episode drops on February 5th. But yesterday, February 4th, was Rosa Parks' birthday. And I wanted to pause for a moment just to honor Black History Month, but to share with you a little story about Rosa Parks that you may not know. Now, if you've followed her, you remember from history in 1955, Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat on a segregated bus in Montgomery, Alabama. And it was from that act of defiance and the Montgomery bus boycott that really became milestone events in the civil rights movement. And as many of you know, I'm a huge game show fan. I'm going to link up to this in the show notes, but I'm going to link to a clip from a 1980 episode of To Tell the Truth, where Rosa Parks was one of the guests. So she was one of the three people who the celebrity panel had to try to figure out who the real Rosa Parks is. Now, as a side note, To Tell the Truth is the only game show who has had a version in every decade since the 1950s. So whether you are currently watching the Anthony Anderson version or not, it is a game show that has truly stood the test of time. But in this segment, it is amazing to watch her tell her story. There's a beautiful exchange between her and entertainer and comedian Nipsey Russell. Nipsey Russell knew Rosa Parks and was involved in a lot of the civil rights movement and action and things that were going on in Montgomery, Alabama. And it's just this beautiful exchange and a celebration of how, when you think about it, 25 years after this event, she was celebrated and lifted up and recognized. Did you know that the United States Congress has called Rosa Parks the First Lady of Civil Rights and the mother of the freedom movement? And in addition, on her death, sadly, in 2005, she was the first woman to lie in honor in the Capitol Rotunda. A beautiful tribute and honor to a woman who has truly shaped American history and the civil rights movement. So I encourage you to take a look at that clip. Give yourself 8.5 minutes or so to really watch something that I believe is truly special. So if you happen to follow me, or you're subscribed to my email list, you would have seen me write about that this week. And if you want to get on my email list, you can do so at my website at johnnerrell.com. But just a special moment here during Black History Month to just offer up some praise and celebration and a whole lot of gratitude to Rosa Parks. So for today's episode, we are going to talk about what it means to feel stuck in your career. I'm going to share with you a few tips to help you get unstuck. But to frame this conversation, I want you to think about the difference between feeling stuck and struggling. Just thinking how I phrase that alone, when I'm talking with you about stuck, it is a feeling. Now, there will be some ways to make this a little bit more tangible, but the struggle is a different aspect of this. And we're going to talk more about that in next week's episode. But to get clear on what I'm talking about here with stuck, I'm talking about being trapped in something that is usually uncomfortable. When you hear yourself or you've heard people say, I'm stuck in my career, it means that there's no place or nowhere for them to go. Someone may be organizationally stuck where there is no place for them to move up or to move sideways. They're essentially put on a box or on an island within that organization, and they are left there. It's not a real happy place to be. So, oftentimes, when we hear about being stuck, you might hear someone say that they're feeling undervalued, where they are not appreciated highly enough in their organization, or they are underutilized, where their talents are not leveraged at their optimal potential. But being stuck is a significant part in your career growth because you will know when you are stuck, probably well after it has actually happened. Oftentimes, when we think we're stuck or we're feeling stuck, we might deny it a little bit. If you're the eternal optimist or you're the one who's always looking for the positive outcome, you will look for that way to see yourself out of that situation and may not necessarily fully acknowledge that you're stuck. But there's a great article by Serena Kappas called 7 Reasons You Might Be Feeling Stuck at Your Job. And I'll link to this article in the show notes as well. But she talks about the golden handcuffs, right? Where you're making really good money and leaving causes some source of stress because you're not sure you're going to be able to meet or exceed that salary in moving to another organization. Feeling stuck may also mean about having less clarity in the role that you're doing. Or when you're looking for a job, you're not sure where to land. You might be stuck if you're feeling too comfortable or a little complacent in your job, or you're working in a specialized role that is actually in a shrinking field where the demands for that talent may not be as warranted or as needed or as competitive as what it may have been a few years ago. And so, what may happen there is that you may find that your skills are becoming outdated. You might be stuck in your job if you're feeling fearful, right? Or you are out of touch with your values and your drivers in terms of the work it is that you're doing. It's a really interesting article. I encourage you to check it out. But if one of those reasons resonate with you, or there's something else that is causing you to feel like you are stuck, I want to spend a little bit of time with you right now to create some potential action steps that you can do if you are feeling as if you're stuck and how to get through it or how to get unstuck. So, one of the things you may want to consider here is having an intentional conversation with someone. I remember in a job where I ended up talking with my boss about my career path, and stuck was the exact word I used because after an organization, I had been moved on to a reorganization, rather, I had been moved on to that proverbial island. And I wasn't at risk of being fired, but there just wasn't a clear path for me to go anywhere other than where I was at. Another thing you can do is if you're feeling stuck is take some time to examine your professional brand. As I'm talking with clients and I'm meeting new people every single week, there is a lack of clarity around what their brand is. A lot of times as professionals, we don't think of ourselves as a branded entity. And when we don't have that kind of clarity, or we are unsure about what our brand is, we have a hard time determining our value or our marketability moving forward as well. So Jeff Bezos from Amazon, big news with him this past week, stepping down as CEO and moving into a new role within the company. But what Jeff Bezos says is that your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. Now, your reputation is how well you deliver on that brand. But what do people say about you when you're not in the room? Does your brand match up consistently with what you believe you are creating every day? Your productivity, your efficiency, your results. Is that the kind of brand you want? If that brand is not in line, it is time to do some damage control or do some things to help shift what that brand is. But when you're feeling stuck, one of the biggest things that I help my clients with is standing in their truth and owning where they are and what they are feeling. When we get clear about the situation that's around us without a lot of emotion or feeling or judgment and look at it very objectively, that's where the clarity starts to come in. Look, I'm not saying here that if you are stuck in your job, you are not to feel disappointed or frustrated about it. Absolutely. You need to go through those things. But if we're putting an objective lens on it, we need to get the data or have the conversation to confirm or deny whether or not what you are actually feeling is accurate. You may be feeling stuck, but your boss may seem to have you on a promotion track. That's where having those intentional conversations can serve you really well. So, another interesting story from last weekend or 2 weekends ago now, when you're going to listen to this, but there's a great story, and I'm going to link up to this again in the show notes. There's a lot of stuff in the show notes in this episode you need to take a look at. But Tom Llamas, formerly from ABC News. So at the end of World News Tonight last Sunday, Tom gave his farewell. And in the article, what I loved about this was that it was very clear for him that according to this article, there is not a path upward for him at the network. David Muir doesn't seem to be going anywhere from World News Tonight. George, Robin, and Michael aren't going anywhere on Good Morning America. And he seems to want a bigger role. Now, while not confirmed at the time of this recording, the report alludes to a potential move to NBC News, where obviously, if that's the case, there will be more opportunities for him over there, or they are creating opportunities for him. But feeling as if you are stuck or being stuck is really just a validation of where you are. It is the feelings that we put behind that then create the actions which drive the results. Look, you could be stuck in a job. Let's acknowledge that's neutral. It may just be a data point. But in the modeling or the mindset work that I do with my clients for my coach training, once we acknowledge that circumstance, then we can talk about what they're thinking about it and what is the feeling and how does that feeling create the action that then is going to drive the result. You could be stuck in a job and it could be the best thing that is ever going to happen to you. If you are in a career transition point right now, if it is because you are feeling stuck where there is no path upward or sideways or around to help you get where you want to be in that job role, that organization, then the actions you may take from that, if those actions are to leave and go somewhere else, may be exactly what you need to do to level up. And in leveling up, what does that get you? More responsibility, a new title, an increase in compensation, greater experiences, an opportunity to lead more effectively and efficiently than you've ever done. Being stuck doesn't have to be a bad thing. Being stuck is part of what happens on our career journey. So, if you are feeling stuck or you recognize that you're stuck in your current role, here's something that you can do to help you navigate around this or through it. Find a stretch project or a passion project that is going to help you either increase your skill set, find ways to add more value, to serve fully, and help increase your exposure and contribution a little bit where you are. If you want to stay, find that stretch project to give you something that's going to excite you a little bit more during the day. And if you are considering leaving, still find ways to stretch. But be clear about what you want to happen next professionally. Know what you are looking at moving forward and be clear about what you're leaving behind in the rearview mirror. These are all wonderful opportunities for you to stretch and to grow and to take whatever the next step is going to be. In upcoming weeks, you are going to hear from some amazing guests that I have lined up that I'm going to start recording some of these episodes. And you're going to hear about where they felt they were stuck and what was going to be next for them, and how, in looking back at it, it was all part of their journey. It was all part of the process. At mid-career, you have so much more time in front of you, God willing, to do the work that you want to do, to make the impact, to be the force, the contributor, to add the value. So if being stuck right now is just something that's happening, what do you want to do about it? You can either wallow in the misery of it and be angry about it or frustrated, or you can decide to take action and figure out those ways to move through it. It's one of the things that coaching can be extremely helpful in, is helping you understand those situations and determine those steps you want to take as you move through those. Look, we're all going to have our good days and our bad days. There are going to be days where, as a dear friend of mine says, I just need to take a knee today and give myself a break and be kind to myself. And I may not do my best work today, or I'm going to take a sick day. And that's what we need to do in those moments. But listen to what I said there. It's in those moments. They are not consistent actions. They are not habits. They're just things that we do to help take care of ourselves as we are navigating along this career journey. So if you are feeling stuck, there's a couple of things you can do. So one thing is, I want you to join my private Facebook group. Go to Facebook and search Your Mid-Career GPS, or you can link up to it through my website at johnnerrell.com. Would love to have you in the group. We're talking about an amazing group of people who are all navigating various parts of their career journeys and being there to support and nurture each other along the way. So I invite you to check that out. The second thing is, really consider what that stretch or passion project might be. If you had an opportunity to do something at work that was going to personally motivate you and add a tremendous amount of value, what would it be? What would you want to do? More importantly, what would you get to do? And then just acknowledge where you are and start putting that GPS together to help you get to wherever is next. And if there's any way that I can help you, you can email me at john@johnneral.com. You can message me on social, connect with me on LinkedIn. I would be happy to talk with you and see how best I may be able to help you moving forward. Right? Okay. So you're stuck in your career. It's not a dead end. It is just an opportunity for you to acknowledge where you are, figure it out, move forward, and keep finding ways to add value as the talented and worthy professional you are. Make it a great rest of the day. I'll see you next week. Let's continue to build the GPS. I'll talk to you later. If you enjoyed today's show and don't want to miss an episode, subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever you usually listen. If you haven't already, I'd appreciate it if you would leave me a rating and review to let me know what you think, to help others find this podcast and continue to bring you relevant and useful content to help you navigate what's next for your career. And if you're ready to create your mid-career GPS and get rid of the overwhelm so you can find the job you'll love or love the job you have, visit my website at johnneral.com for more information about joining my private Facebook group and scheduling a free consult with me so we can start building your mid-career GPS together. Don't forget to connect with me on LinkedIn and follow me on social at John Neral Coaching. I'll see you next time.